In the NFL, teams come and go. Some have had letdowns, some become dynasties, and some are one and done champions. But a very rare thing that happened in the NFL is super teams. Super teams are teams that are loaded with star talent. Think of the 2017 to 2019 Golden State Warriors, 2010 to 2014 Miami Heat, or the modern day Los Angeles Dodgers. It isn't uncommon to see it in the NBA or MLB, but in the NFL, it's much more rare to see due to more strict cap restrictions, but it does happen sometimes. And today we will look at some of them because I believe we are about to see a new current super team in the NFL in the LA Rams, whom were the second best team last year and just acquired Myles fucking Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year. Myles Garrett, the sack record broken. Myles Garrett, because holy shit, that's insane. It's broken. It doesn't make any sense. No, seriously, this is like if Thanos had a team that's already beaten the crap out of the Avengers and then the Hulk joins. That's how it is. But for now, let's look at the past super teams and how they did and if they worked out well. Let's start off with not necessarily a super team, but a stacked overall team. There isn't many super teams in the NFL. What do you want me to do? But I will start with one, and that was from a team from the late 80s, the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners accomplished a total of 5 Super Bowls between the 80s and 90s, but the year 1989 truly showed their peak dominance in the NFL. This is before my time, but they're still players we all know. At the time, current GOAT and NFL legend Joe Montana, who was the NFL MVP that season, along with the GOAT wide receiver Jerry Rice, who put up near 1,500 yards and 17 touchdowns, along with other Hall of Famers like defensive end Fred Dean. To his side, he had Charles Haley and one of the greatest safeties ever, Ronnie frickin' Lott, laying big hits and chopping off limbs and all. The team was 14-2 and goddamn stormed their way through the playoffs. The Niners crushed the Vikings in the divisional 41-13. Then on to the Rams, who they whooped 32-3. Then the Super Bowl against Hall of Famer John Elway, and oh my god, it wasn't close, winning 55-10. Pure domination and truly showing how dominant super teams can be in the NFL. That was, however, their last Super Bowl they won with that core team. They would then win another one in the 94-95 season, but that was without Montana, Charles Haley, and Ronnie Lott. But that's just old timers. And the term super team would truly get its official term in the NFL in the 2000s, so let's look at a more modern one. After the 2019 season, Tom Brady left the New England Patriots for good, and to settle, he found a new home in Tampa Bay. And boy howdy, did they give him a great roster. Getting the Tampa Bay, who already had a great coach in Bruce Arians, and future Hall of Famer wide receiver Mike Evans, underrated wide receiver 2 Chris Godwin, solid tight ends in O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. And also that year, they drafted rookie Tristan Wirfs, who's on pace to be a Hall of Famer. Rookie at the time, All-Pro safety Antoine Winfield Jr., and they had All-Pro Shaq Barrett, and Pro Bowlers Vita Vea and Jason Pierre-Paul, and an absolute psychopath and all-time great Ndamukong Suh. Rookie linebacker Devin White getting a second-team All-Pro, and one of the most underrated linebackers of all time, and multiple-time Pro Bowler Levante David, and they had a solid cornerback in Carlton Davis. And to top that all off, they picked up Pro Bowler Leonard Fournette, Rob Gronkowski out of retirement, who was still good, and NFL nutcase and great receiver Antonio Brown. This team on paper was unbelievably stacked, and they didn't even win their division. The team only finished 11-5, making the playoffs, but got crushed by the New Orleans Saints, a team in their division twice, which would then lead them to winning the NFC South, causing the Bucs to be on the road the entire playoffs. The best team in the NFL on paper is still on the wild card on the road. Didn't see that coming. They got demolished by the Saints twice, outclassed by another wildcard team in the Rams this season, and losing a rough game against another wildcard team in the Bears. But the Bucs had a few tricks up their sleeves, and that was experience. Despite being underwhelming in the season, Tom Brady and the offense heated up late in the year. Tom Brady, 41 years old, finished second in touchdowns with 40. Going into the playoffs, they had a layup game against the 8-8 Washington football team. Yes, the football team. That was their name for that one year, and is still a better name than the Commanders. You can fight me on that. And the Buccaneers won, but it was an extremely close game. Despite the Bucs winning against the Commanders put up a good fight, only losing by one score with their third-string quarterback Taylor Heineke, who did play pretty well. But it's over for the Bucs. They won a playoff game, but now they're facing the Saints, a team that got crushed by twice in the year. You would think so, but somehow, some way, the Buccaneers overcame the Saints. And it wasn't due to Tom Brady and the offense. The defense came up huge, striking down Drew Brees for good, leading him to leave the NFL in retirement. But now they're facing the Green Bay Packers, a Florida team in the cold Green Bay weather against MVP Aaron Rodgers. There's no way they're going to win. Oh my God, the Packers played their worst game of the year and the Bucs won. The Bucs, despite their slow start, are red hot and have made it to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately for them, they're facing the reigning Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, a team who finished 14-2 and only had one loss with their starters playing. A team the Bucs faced during the year and got handled pretty easily by. Surely they win against the Bucs, right? Well, no. Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, and Leonard Fournette put belt to ass, scoring touchdowns on them. And a game in the first of Mahomes' career where he got absolutely crushed, getting harassed all game and beat up, not even scoring a single touchdown, losing 31-9, securing Tom Brady's 7th Super Bowl title and the 2nd Super Bowl in the Bucs' history. Despite their slow start, the Bucs became one of the 5 teams ever, technically, to never win a home playoff game and win the Super Bowl in that run. Yes, the Super Bowl was in Tampa Bay, but that was predated years before that, so I'm counting them as all road games, damn it. This truly goes to show a super team can cancel out flaws of other teams just because of how overpowered they are. How about we look at 1 year in the future to another super team that formed? Now, a week before the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, the Rams were building their own super team. After multiple years of being great, the Rams could do everything but win the big one. So, Sean McVay and GM Les Snead said screw those picks and traded Jared Goff, a solid quarterback, for Matthew Stafford and 3 first-round picks. Stafford is a very talented QB who has been known to have been wasted in the lines for years. He just needs a better team and he will be an all-time great. But there was still some skeptics saying he is a stat padding merchant and only as good as the Lions are. Plus 3 first-round picks as well seems a bit too much. But as the Rams season started, it slowly dawned on everyone who was watching. It truly showed Matt Stafford was being held back by the Lions. He had a career year with the most passing touchdowns of his career at the time, with 41 and nearly 5,000 passing yards. Alongside his number 1 target, Cooper Kupp finished the year with 1,900 plus yards and 17 touchdowns. Supporting an O-line led by future Hall of Famer Andrew Whitworth, the Rams also picked up at the trade deadline is Odell Beckham Jr., who could still go, a solid wide receiver 3 in Robert Woods, and running back was led by former Patriot and 2-time champion Sony Michel. And of course, they had Sean McVay calling the plays, one of the best offensive minds ever in the NFL, but that's just the offense. The defense was nasty, led by 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, Aaron Donald. Alongside him was Von Miller, a future Hall of Famer, and they still had a guy in Leonard Floyd, who is an underrated pass rusher, lined up with them. And in the secondary, they had prime Jalen Ramsey, the best cornerback in the league at the time, and multiple-time All-Pro Eric Weddle came out of retirement to run it back one more time. This is a true super team, and they truly showed it, crushing the Cardinals in the wildcard round, and retiring Tom Brady for the first time in the divisional, but squeaking out a championship win against the Niners, and finally capturing Lombardi after defeating the underdog Bengals in a very, very close game, successfully giving rings to so many greats and paying off that trade they did with Stafford, truly showing they were a super team and won. However, in my opinion, I think this Rams team benefited huge from circumstances rather than pure greatness. Despite being very good and the best team on paper in the NFL, they really were not that dominant. For example, they got destroyed by the 1-seeded Packers in the season, but they didn't need to face them because they choked against the Niners in the divisional round. The Packers matched up really well against the Rams and likely would have won if they faced in the playoffs. And not to mention, the Rams blew a 22-point lead against the Buccaneers in the divisional round, causing a tie and won off a walk-off field goal, barely winning. They were also down 10 in the championship game against the Niners in the fourth quarter, and a dropped INT could have easily swung this victory towards the Niners. Even in the Super Bowl, they faced the Bengals, who were pretty lucky to be there in the first place, and they got there off a 1-100 comeback against the Chiefs, which is another team I think would have beaten the Rams. Heck, even the previous round, the Bills choked against the Chiefs. If they beat the Chiefs, I think they would have beaten the Bengals, and I think they would have beaten the Rams too. The Rams were certainly lucky to face the teams they did, because there were better teams than them, that unfortunately for them, didn't get a chance to play. And even so, in the Super Bowl, they were down most of the game to a 10-7 Bengals team that wasn't that great. This team may have won the Super Bowl, but I refuse to call them the best team that year. But they won it, capturing Lombardi. But how about we look at one more super team to end this off? Now, this Patriots team technically isn't a super team, but their team was stacked nonetheless. Ben Watson at tight end, Wes Welker at receiver, Teddy Bruschi, Mike Vrabel, Vince Wilfork at the D-line, Asante Samuel and Rodney Harrison in the secondary. But the reason I consider this a super team is simply because they grabbed one player, because this player was so dominant it changed their entire offense. In 2007, the NFL fans got to witness history as we got to see the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, paired up with the best wide receiver of the 2000s, Randy Moss. And you could say the pairing worked out well. Tom Brady threw a league and record high 50 touchdown passes, and Randy Moss broke the single season record for receiving touchdowns with 23, which still stands today. This team was so dominant, they went 16-0. And in the past 6 years, they've already won 3 Super Bowls. And their team is even better now. A literal juggernaut, an unstoppable force in the playoffs. Tom and the Pats didn't need to face off against his arch nemesis, Peyton Manning, who took his Colts to a 13-3 record, but lost in the divisional round. They were a team that faced the Pats in the season pretty close and only lost by 4. So they breezed in the playoffs. They crushed the Jaguars and beat the Chargers, leading to an inevitable Super Bowl appearance. And they're the Patriots, 16-0, facing the 9-7 New York Giants, led by Peyton Manning's younger and less talented brother, Eli Manning. This is the makings of history right here. The New England Patriots could become the first team in NFL history to go 20-0. Their team is stacked. They've won it 3 different times with this group, plus Randy Moss. It is insane, but it wasn't meant to be.
Eli Manning stays on his feet, airs it out down the field. It is caught by Tyree.
Brady steps up, throws, downfield, broken up. The Giants have won the Super Bowl.
Yes, that is right. Eli Manning, the less talented brother of Peyton Manning, somehow, someway, nearly had the same amount of wins as losses in the regular season, shocked the world. Despite being 14-point underdogs, they defeated the New England Patriots. And this is still, today, one of the biggest what-ifs ever. Despite this team being so great, the greatest coach ever, the greatest quarterback ever, a top 3 receiver of all time, an all-star defense, they lost to a team that seems like it was straight out of a Cinderella story. It's just how things meant to be. But that is the end of that super team, as Tom Brady would get injured and Randy Moss would eventually move on, and we never got to see this team win, which is unfortunate. However, it's kind of nice to think that the overall best team of super teams didn't win. Heck, this team is so dominant still, it is still considered one of the best teams, if not the best team of all time, and they didn't even win. It's crazy how that goes. And that brings us to the main point of the main season. The Rams are going into the season with a super team. Ride from it, run from it, whatever you want. This is a super team. MVP Matt Stafford, top 10 running back Kyren Williams, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, and now you got your D-line with Myles Garrett and Byron Young and Braden Fisk and Colby Turner. And you got Trent McDuffie, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. This is a super team, and a dominant one at that. How are they going to do? Well, gotta wait and see. They're probably going to win the Super Bowl. And that is it, everybody. Thank you for watching my video today. I'd greatly appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe button. And I'll see you next time for whatever video I feel like making. NFL, God of War, Gorilla, who knows? Bye, y'all.